Good morning, everybody. Well, it's morning here, where I am in Johannesburg, South Africa. My name is Jason Hobbs, and this is the first lecture of three that I'll be recording and sharing with all of you. Thank you for your time and interest, and thank you, Dan, for making this possible. I'm going to jump right in and start this thing. Okie dokie. So this first talk is entitled Structural Logic and Semantic Formation on the Formal Composition and Encoding of Meaning by Conceptual Information Architecture. That's not a mouthful at all. To set the context for this talk, it needs to be understood as one emerging from what I've referred to as a second intellectual culture to be found in the field of information architecture. And I've written about this in a journal paper, which is online and freely available in the Journal of Information Architecture, which was called Footnotes to Ray, the Future of Information Architecture. So to try and make a point about the difference between first and second culture, distinct from a first culture view of information architecture as an applied library and information science, primarily concerned with the web and bounded objects, such as websites or mobile apps, the second intellectual culture view views information architectures as existent phenomena in the world which predate digital technology and the internet. This second view recognizes information architectures as capable of affecting the human condition in terms far broader than those we associate with the first culture concern, limited to discrete, bounded digital objects. And my hope is that towards the end of this talk, the implications and significance of this separation of cultures shall become apparent. Upon a sunny morning in Johannesburg, South Africa. Me. So, based on our previous discussions, how would you articulate structural logic and semantic formation? ChatGPT. Structural logic. This is the underlying organizational framework of the information. It concerns how content is grouped, labeled, and connected. Essentially, the blueprint or architecture by which audiences navigate or make sense of the design. Semantic formation. This is about the meaning that content carries, what is being said or signified, and why it matters. It explores how we choose words, symbols, or conceptual models, and how these get understood by people who engage with the system. In other words, structural logic answers how is the information arranged, while semantic formation answers what does it mean and how is it interpreted. Me. Almost, but no. One more time. ChatGPT. They are distinct but mutually dependent. Me. Yes. ChatGPT. Distinct. Structural logic ensures there is a coherent architecture or shape. Semantic formation ensures we have something of significance to say. Me. No, you're saying the same thing as before. You just swapped it around. ChatGPT. Mutually dependent. Without coherent structure, me, blah, 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 blah. ChatGPT. Compositional. In an information architecture, these two come together as a composition. By carefully encoding both the how, structure, form, and the what, semantics, content, the design realizes an intended meaning for the audience. Me. No, it doesn't. I think I'm hoping that the intent of that little drama makes clear that structural logic and semantic formation are somewhat slippery ideas or concepts. They're quite tricky to understand. later that sunny day. Me, your understanding is still not quite correct. Let's use the example of a website. We can think of a sitemap as the structural logic, that hidden aspect of websites IA, underpinning the various web pages that constitute the website as a whole. The navigation presented on the website allows people to interact with the structural logic in myriad meaningful ways, and in so doing operates as a semantic formation, that visible aspect of the website's information architecture. So the core idea is that semantic formations and structural logics can be used as compositional devices for the creation of information architectures, which exist both hidden within and, in some respects, visible in a design object. Let's look at an example. This is a piece of work I did a long time ago, around 2006, 2005, 2006. And it was the website for Volkswagen in South Africa. And if we look carefully at this homepage, we cannot see the structural logic. Hidden behind that interface is an arrangement of web pages organized into a site, well, organized and representable in the form of a sitemap. What is visible, the visible aspect of the information architecture then, is the global navigation, which is the semantic formation. So explore, learn more about our models and packages. Just bought, start here to get going. Maximize, make the most of your Volkswagen. And then finally, repurchase, fast track towards your new Volkswagen. If we look a little deeper into the global navigation, as you click off the homepage, we can see the semantic formation playing out further. In this example, the user is inside the explore area, and below that we can see a second level of navigation. Help me choose models, financing, servicing and warranties, find your dealer, Mastercars. Mastercars are pre-owned cars. And then what I'm attempting to show here is the manner in which the structural logic and semantic formation kind of work together. So in this example, actually, and it's interesting because the sitemap doesn't show the final kind of refined, polished terms that we decided to use in the global navigation. So explore was buyers, new owners not represented here, but on the homepage with the just bought. Maximize is for owners, repurchasing is for the act of repurchasing. One level down, inside buyers, is design your car, which became help me choose, models remain models, financing, servicing and warranties, etc. So the idea, and this might not be evident yet, but it will become clear, is that these are compositional devices which deeply encode and bind meaning with the form and content of objects. Me, does that make sense to you? ChatGPT, yes, I follow you now. Let me restate it in my own words to ensure clarity. Structural logic, the hidden aspect of IA. This is like the sitemap or blueprint that underlies the entire website. It determines how pages and content are grouped, related, and ordered. Users don't directly see a sitemap in front of them, but it shapes how everything fits together. Semantic formation, the visible aspect of IA. This surfaces in the actual navigation menus, labels, links, or categories that people encounter on each page. When users click around, they see and interpret the meaning or logic of the structure through these labels and navigational pathways. In effect, the navigation is how the underlying structure is expressed to users, allowing them to move through the site in ways that feel meaningful. So the structural logic is behind the scenes, ensuring there's a coherent architecture to the website, while the semantic formation is what's in the spotlight, letting people navigate and understand that structure by way of labels and navigation cues. The two go hand in hand. One shapes the other, but they operate at different levels, hidden versus visible. That all makes sense to me. Me. Does it though? Really? Right. So let's go back to my original request and give this one more try. Please, can you assist me with performing an information architecture analysis of the concept of democracy using the mechanics of structural logic and semantic formation? So this is actually true. What I've been trying to do is work with ChatGPT to give it a whole bunch of concepts, information architecture concepts that I'm working with, to teach it how to do analyses of things in the world through the lens of an information architecture. And in so doing, kind of start to move in the direction of determining an epistemology of information architecture in the world. So this encoding of meaning is limited neither to websites nor library and information science information architecture. The following slides are all derived from a paper I wrote with my research partner, Terence Fenn, around 2012. And it's called, the paper was called The Information Architecture of Transdisciplinary Design, Rethinking Nathan Shedroth's Continuum of Understanding. And what you're seeing in the slide in front of you is BIA, which refers to before IA, library and information science information architecture in the middle, around 1997, emerging around 1997, and then pervasive information architecture emerging around 2011. IA may be viewed as having three distinct but mutually inclusive dimensions, amongst potential others, which we will term bounded, cross-channel, and poetic IA. Bounded IA tends to address single spaces of interaction and experience. For example, a website, a mobile application, or intranet. It may derive its content and functionality from one or more sets of data. However, they manifest in that single space, and the IA design is intended for that environment. In these circumstances, the use and purpose of the IA intervention is clear, and the design is outcomes-based. Moving forward then, to look at pervasive information architecture, cross-channel IA offers models of structure and organization that endure across multiple environments and data sets, be they digital or non-digital. For example, a business requiring a pervasive IA across call centers, physical retail stores or website, and mobile application. In purely business kind of terms or operational terms, the key differences between LIS-IA and pervasive IA, at least in the context of this conversation, can be understood as being a difference in channel. LIS-IA is very much a digital and digital objects kind of framing, whereas pervasive information architecture expands and moves into both real and digital and blended spaces. But it's poetic IA that I want to focus on, given that this talk is about both structural logic and semantic formation, as well as what I'm calling conceptual IA. This work, dating back to 2012, can be understood as an intuition towards the concept of conceptual IA, which I have developed much more extensively subsequently. So here, poetic IA is unbounded, without physical or digital context, and abstract in the sense that it is interested in the pure structure of data or information, potentially abstracted from a distinct outcomes-based objective. It is principally concerned with composing meaning as an end in itself. in an undirected yet structural, semantic, and ontological way. It's rare that you'll find examples of poetic IA in a standalone manner, and yet the shift it provides to one's experience of new information formations and the meaning they hold is profound enough to warrant identification and categorization here. An example of poetic IA could be the creation of a taxonomy that breaks from conventions within an industry sector that creates a fundamental shift in the way people understand the industry, its purpose or promise. So their essential operation, detached from any usual sense of an object, is the encoding of meaning in compositional forms which embody and thus become new concepts for the world. If we step back from me just talking a lot, this is very special, right? What I'm suggesting here is really very special. But let's deconstruct what I'm saying. Consider the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit as three individual parts. The manner in which the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are organized and related to come together enables the formation of the concept or the idea of the Holy Trinity. More than just the semantic formation, which is almost the words, the Holy Trinity, the structural logics that allow for this composition can be understood in two parts. The first is the manner in which those three parts, in their combining, do not mean the same thing and exclude each other. In other words, the Father is not the Son is not the Holy Spirit is not the Father, and so on. But where they do join and what binds them is the manner in which each one is God. The Father is God, the Son is God, and the Holy Spirit is God. What emerges here is the conceptual IA for the idea of God, where there is a structural logic which provides a relational logic for the Trinity and a semantic formation, a form for the Trinity concept. Now, what's really interesting about this is that at some point in the Middle Ages, God as a word or an image was not allowed. The idea that one could represent God directly kind of operated against the idea of the bigness of God, the omnipotence and the omnipresence of this being. So what the Holy Trinity allowed for was the presentation and discussion of God without any direct representation. For example, in this work, which is a work by Masaccio, it's a fresco, we can see depicted the Father represented at the top, he's the old guy, the Holy Spirit as that white shape, which is a dove, and the Son, Jesus Christ. Together, these represent the Holy Trinity or come together to form the Holy Trinity. The fresco is called the Holy Trinity, which in and of itself presents a conversation about God. The important point here is that before it was a fresco, it was an idea. Yeah? Which is to say that conceptual information architectures are transportable, right? They can manifest as the internal meaning of designed objects in all sorts of ways, in all sorts of concepts. That's a really powerful quality. So, moving backwards, where might one find the conceptual information architecture behind this design? And I should just note, I don't mean to suggest that I consider this design to be godly, although around 2005, 2006, it was pretty rocking design. So, as previously stated, the semantic formation is visible in the global navigation through those options: explore, just bought, maximize, and repurchase. This slide I dug out. I'm obsessed about keeping all my drawings and project notes from as far back as 1997. These are scans of drawings that I had done to aid the designer that I was working with in putting together visuals for a strategy presentation for the redesign of the website, Volkswagen website. And what we see here is a classic customer lifecycle model: pre-purchase, purchase, post-purchase, and repurchase. And it should be clear: pre-purchase relates to explore, purchase to just bought, post-purchase to maximize, and repurchase to repurchase. So what then is the conceptual IA that we're talking about here? Bearing in mind that semantic formation and structural logic are the two kind of elements of a conceptual IA. Well, the structural logic that runs parallel to this classic lifecycle model are for pre-purchase things like manufacture wants, not needs, position wants as values, work in marketing cycles. At purchase, cross-sell and upsell, work around the triple bottom line. In post-purchase, on-sell, incentivize preferred behavior as rewarding loyalty. And then time financing, warranties, and marketing. In repurchasing, trade up, hasten purchase, one example being design in obsolescence, and retain customers because they're cheaper to sell to. So the conceptual IA provides visibility of the portability of the concept. The one structural logic manifesting, the one semantic formation in the abstract manifesting as the semantic formation in a particular designed object, in this case, a website. And in addition, the semantic and related mechanics for the concept becoming in the world. All of those elements of the structural logic of the concept are here, are in the website, literally on the pages. Things like if somebody doesn't know if they want to buy a new car or a pre-owned car because of financial concerns, provide that fork. That fork allows people to continue on the journey as opposed to only presenting new cars, in which case the user might abandon or fall out of the life cycle, etc., etc. Later that evening, one more time, how might I refer to structural logic and semantic formation by way of their purpose? ChatGPT. Here are a few terms you might consider that capture the role of structural logic and semantic formation as essential building blocks for robust meaning making. Compositional pillars emphasizes that structural logic and semantic formation are the two pillars holding up your conceptual IA. It communicates that they undergird the design's meaning. Me. Undergird? Nice. ChatGPT. Fundamental dimensions conveys that each is a fundamental dimension that must be addressed in creating an IA that encodes meaning well. Core framework elements suggest these are central elements of any coherent IA framework, rather than a step-by-step set of instructions. Each element shapes how meaning is both formed and organized. Structuring conditions. Condition indicates that structural logic and semantic formation set the terms under which meaning is realized in an IA. And lastly, generative coordinates. A bit more abstract, but it underscores how structural logic and semantic formation form the coordinates or axes for which all meaning in the IA is mapped. Conveys that they generate possibilities and structure the design space. In all of these, the idea is the same. Structural logic and semantic formation are not rigid laws you must obey, but rather essential conceptual factors or conditions that an information architect must intentionally compose to encode meaning. This could work. We've reached the end, ladies and gentlemen. I thought I would just leave you with a creepy visual thought. And thank you very much.